So in this video, we're going to get our database set up and get that out of the way. And we're using MongoDB, of course. M in the MERN stack stands for MongoDB. And if you're not familiar with Mongo, it is a NoSQL database. So it's not a relational database like MySQL or Postgres or anything like that, where you have tables and columns. Instead, we have documents. Okay, it's actually a document database, which is a certain type of NoSQL database, and it's very similar to JSON syntax or JavaScript objects. So it pairs really well with JavaScript or Node applications. Now, you have the option to install MongoDB locally or in the cloud using MongoDB Atlas. Now, we're using Atlas, we're using a cloud database for a few reasons. One, it's easier to manage. We don't have to go through an installation and dealing with local database issues. Two, this is a course, so some of you are using Windows, some Mac, some Linux, and it's different on all systems. Three, we're going to be deploying to Heroku, which is a platform as a service. So you can't install a local instance of Mongo when you're using Heroku. You'd have to use something like DigitalOcean or something like that if you wanted to actually install Mongo on the server. So we have a cloud database that we can just connect to our app no matter where it's hosted, locally or on Heroku or anywhere else for that matter. All right, so those are the reasons that we're using Atlas. However, if you want to install it locally and use it, you can. The code will be the exact same. You'll just have a local connection string instead of a remote one. All right, so what you have to do is sign up if you don't already have an account. So if you go to try free and you just go ahead and fill this out, and you'll probably get a confirmation email and then just log in. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my account. Oops. All right, so once you create an account and you log in, you're going to have a project, okay? I believe it creates it for you. If not, just click on New Project. You can see I have Project 0, but I created this MERN project just for this course. And in your project, you want to create a cluster, all right? So you want to click on this Build a Cluster, and we have some options here. The provider, we're going to use AWS, which is the default. I'm going to use my default region, which is North America. As far as the tier, we want the free plan. So this is the free forever plan. It's the M0, and you get 512 megabytes of storage. Your CPU is shared. So this is suitable for, as it says, production environments. It's really not for not suitable for production environments. It's suitable for development environments or prototyping. If you're going to have a production app that has a bunch of users that needs a lot of storage, you definitely want to look into the premium packages here, or premium tiers. We don't need any additional settings. So right here, I'm just going to name this dev connector, so you can call it whatever you'd like. And let's click on Create Cluster. All right, so this actually takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes. It says 7 to 10, but it usually doesn't take that long. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so we don't have to sit here in awkward silence, and I'll be back when this is done. All right, so now that our cluster is set up, we need to do a couple things as far as security goes. So one, we need to add a user, and it's not the same user that you logged in with to the mongodb.com. You need to add a specific user for this cluster. Now I'm going to add in here, let's do Brad123 and Brad123 for both the username and password. And then as far as privileges, this can be an admin, this can be a user that can read and write to any database in the cluster, only read from the database. You can also have custom roles. We're going to choose the default here. This user can read and write to any database. So let's add the user. And once we do that, you need to whitelist your IP address. And this makes this more secure because this is a cloud database. Obviously, it's not local. So you can restrict access to just your IP address. Okay, so if you click this button here, it'll actually get your IP address automatically and whitelist it. Or you can allow access from anywhere. And I'm just going to say access from anywhere because I'm going to be getting rid of this later anyways. So I'm going to click confirm. But again, if you're creating a real application that you're going to use, then you want to whitelist just your IP address or anyone who's going to have access to this. All right, so now that we've done that, I think we're all set. So if you have other clusters, they'll show here as well. But once we want to connect, we can just click connect, and then this right here, connect your application, and we get this string that we'll be able to plug into our Express app to access our database. All right, and if we want to access the data from here, we can go to collections, and this will show us all our collections, which are similar to like tables in a relational database. So for instance, we'll have a users collection, we'll have a profile collection, a post collection, and we'll be able to interact with the data from here if we want. Now we're going to be using something called Mongoose, which is a package that we're going to install with npm, and it basically allows us to model our data, and it gives us a bunch of methods to interact with our database. So we can call like .find or remove or whatever we want to do with our database, and it makes things easier. So we will be using that later on. All right, so that's going to be it for now. We have our database set up. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and start to create our Express backend.